If the proposed development does proceed to the formal submission process, members of the public will have numerous opportunities to address the city's Planning and Zoning Commission and/or City Council regarding it at that time. The committee would like to thank you for your attendance at tonight's meeting. So can I get a roll call of committee members, please?
Councilmember Brost,
Here.
Councilmember Jaxie, Councilmember Rambo,
Here.
Mayor Garitano,
Here.
and Chair Beatty.
Here. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the Department of Planning have any opening comments?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, first of all, we do appreciate you making time to participate in tonight's discussion, so thank you. As was kind of alluded to in our preliminary conversations before the meeting was called to order, the Department of Planning met with Mr. Summers and two of his employees who operate a nursery, plant nursery in the city of Manchester. They are interested in participating in an auction of what used to be Farr Greenhouse. And Farr Greenhouse is located on State Highway T, St. Albans Road, about halfway between Route 100 and the Franklin County line. More recently, it was purchased from the Bellroses by Solus Agriscience, and they had submitted a request to amend the zoning ordinance to accommodate research facilities in the non-urban resident district, and then a conditional use permit to operate a facility at the farmer side of Farr Greenhouse. Mr. Summers, again, is interested in the property. He has a current plant nursery in the city of Manchester, which he has outgrown. And the quirk in all of this is that it's an auction. It's not just a property posted for sale where people can bid on it, and then there's counter proposals, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a bit of an urgency. Mr. Summers contacted the department and wanted some assurances that if he was successful at the auction, that it could be used for a plant nursery and sales room. And those assurances I said I could not give, but certainly the Development and Zoning Review Committee could at least delve into it and maybe give their impressions. So there is no formal design per se, and that's why you received the aerial photography with the center 5+ acre site identified. There may be a question if the auction includes the other properties or if it's just this 5 acre site, and those Mr. Summers certainly can answer versus the department. It's a little unusual for the Development and Zoning Review Committee, but again, from the perspective of the department, it is a format that could provide some direction or at least some impressions of a plant nursery reoccupying this particular location, as was Farr Greenhouse for decades and decades. So if there are any questions of the department, I'd certainly be glad to try to answer them at this time. And thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vunich. I guess at this time, we'll invite Mr. Summers to come forward and tell us what he plans to do with it, and we'll take it from there. So, Mr. Summers.
Hi. As you guys are aware, my name is Joe Summers. In my office with me today is my daughter, Lily Summers, who works with us here at Chilili. And then I also have one of our key guys, Caleb Siddell. He's just off camera. So Chilili has been around 14 years, and Lily has put together a little slideshow, just I think 5 slides that show a little bit about what we've done in those 14 years. And I think she's going to share it now. Then basically we've outgrown the Manchester location, and for several years we've been looking actively more in the last 6 months, and this property became on our radar. As Joe said, the caveat here really is the timing, because it is a auction. We're trying to pull as much diligence as we can, history of what was the issues with the most recent owner, and to avoid any of those problems. as we make a decision. The auction is scheduled to take place on April 30th. So we just have a few days to really decide if we want to participate in that auction or keep looking for something else. We do know that Chilili is going to move in 2025. We just don't know where we're going to move to just yet.
Thank you.
Are you able to? Okay.
I'm trying to share the screen.
Travis, can she share a screen?
Yes,
She
they
could
should-
be granted permission if she can't.
Yeah, we default, they have permission to share screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
See.
Here's a share.
I don't know if it's my laptop that's not allowing it.
So in the lower or the lower toolbar, you're able to see a green arrow that says share. Should be right in the middle.
Caleb, do you want to see if you can figure it out? So,
Alternatively, if it'd be quicker to email it to me, I can have it up in just a matter of a minute or so.
okay.
Yeah, so basically what's going to tell you is a little bit is we started here in 2011. We're a small family operation, started that way and still are. We've grown over those 14 years, but this location is just physically too small. Similar to FAR, we grow our own plants, and different from FAR is all we really do is concentrate on aquatics. So anything for the backyard pond owner. So we do a lot of water lilies and what we categorize as shallow water plants. So things that you might be aware of would be water cannas, water hibiscus. Most plants have cousins that grow in the water. So if you're familiar at all with a regular garden plant, they probably have a cousin that goes in the pond. So our typical customer will then visit us once or twice a year and purchase some items for their pond, whether it could be a new pump or a new filter. Obviously, we concentrate a lot on plants, and then we do stock and sell fish also, koi and goldfish varieties. And that's really what we've been doing self-sufficiently. But thank goodness we have had success, and it's time to expand. We have started growing plants on an offsite location, but that is 15 miles from the Manchester store. And logistically, it just doesn't make sense to keep doing that. We also had to rent a small warehouse in Fenton, which is, I think, 6 miles from our location. So our dream is to consolidate all of that into one location and then have some room for growth also.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Vunich.
While we're trying to work out the share screen, Mr. Summers, is the auction just for the 5+ acre site? Does it include anything else? That was a key question.
Yeah, it should, as far as we know, it's only for, I think it's 5.5 acres.
Okay,
So I know Pat Belrose lives, if you're looking from the road, looking at the property, Pat would live to the right. I'm not sure who owns the property to the left. I assume at one point the Belrose was using it because it looks like there's, you know, old nursery type items over there.
Yep.
But this auction, that screenshot that was just up there, that's the only property that we're speaking of. Yeah.
thank you.
Just out of curiosity, do you think the 5 acres is enough, will be enough land for what you're planning on doing?
Yeah. If you add all of the square footage and acreage that we're using now, spread over those 3 locations I spoke about, we're only using, I think, 1.5 acres. So this allows us to more than double what we're currently doing.
Okay.
Yep.
Does anyone on the commission have any questions at this point? Mayor Garetano?
Yes, hi. I do have a couple of questions, but first one, I'll start off with Joe Vunich. Based on the use that was there when Far Greenhouse was operating, and I recall when Solace was proposing their use, believe, and this is where I'm trying to recollect, that we had to approve that use. So how does that work, like with what we're hearing, like for tonight? Is that automatically always going to be required for approval, or if the use is exactly the same as FAR, does that continue on?
As best as the department could determine, there has not been a conditional use permit granted to this property. And simply stated, it predated much of St. Louis County's zoning. And so it's always been kind of a legal non-conforming use. And so when Mr. Summers met with the department earlier on this month, we advised them that it's going to require a new conditional use permit. We'll have a public hearing, it will be posted, we'll do the mailing. But again, I think from Mr. Summers' perspective, with the auction and the kind of the timeline associated with it, he was looking for just some idea of would another nursery, not like Solus, not a experimental or research facility, but just a true plant nursery with sales room, still be something that would be considered by the city.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly the challenge, is that, we can provide, I guess, so much information out of this, but, without going through the full process, not be able to give you a final answer. But maybe if we could be educated about this type of proposed use, how similar it is to perhaps what FAR was doing there. I hear these are types of aquatic type plants. So is that a different type of setup? Educate us a little bit more on, is water being used? Is water released anywhere? Things that I'm trying to understand, because we heard when Solace was bringing up, there were a lot of concerns about lighting at night, and contamination in the area, whether it was water or whatever liquids that they were using. So that's what I'm curious to hear more from the petitioner tonight.
Yeah, so in general, water plants, on average, will use less water, less irrigation to produce them, because what we'll do is fill up a tank, which is just, there's just a rubber membrane like you would use on a flat roof, and build a frame and then put that membrane in and fill that tank up, and then fill that tank with water, and then we would add our plants. So in a normal setting, like FAR produced a lot of poinsettias. They're going to irrigate those poinsettias, at least 2 or 3 times a week, depending on the weather and things like that. And whenever you're irrigating something like that in a terrestrial plant, there is going to be water that runs out the bottom of the pot and off to wherever that irrigation ran. But in a water plant situation, we're going to end up using less water than them, because we're going to fill that tank and that water is just going to stay there. We will, of course, have to clean tanks. Typically, we do them once a year or so, get ready for the next season. Not all plants are grown in submerged water, so we will still have regular plants that are irrigated, whether by hand or if like FAR had drip irrigation or some sort of irrigation system. I think overall our production is going to be much less, and our water use is going to be much less than FAR ever used. I have no idea what Solaris, how do you say it?
Solus, I think.
Yeah, Solus. I have no idea what they were doing, so I have no reference point. For a little history on mine, I did grow poinsettias once for a 5-year period for Missouri Botanical Garden, so I know what the pain in the butt that crop can be. They have lighting issues, and it was really about keeping out light to make the poinsettias do their thing on time. We do not have any lights at all. The only time you might see a light there if we moved into that property is if I'm in the office way too late, like often happens with any small business. But yeah, there's no lights at all on the plant material.
Great. This
Ye-
is very helpful information. So I do have a follow-up because you did mention tanks. Do
Yeah.
you have to use any kind of like aerators for these tanks?
We have experimented in the past, but we have not used aeration in years. We found no benefit at all.
Okay, and the reason I asked this, and this is what I greatly appreciate if you could share. So we have had another area that had some kind of aerating devices that were creating a constant humming noise, and so that became an issue for those residents and ultimately for the city. So it sounds like you don't use any aerators. So then is it safe to assume you don't have any kind of motorized any kind of motor running or anything like that then?
Yeah, no aeration or motors running in the plant production side of things. Now, the retail side of things, we do sell fish, as I mentioned before. Now, those tanks will have a pump and aeration for them, but it's more in line. I'm not sure what the history was with the other place, but this would be, you're thinking more, for us, the application would be more in line with the aquarium. So if you went to the aquarium store, an aquarium and a pond are very similar. Because most people are adding these things for relaxation, to get in touch with Mother Nature. So our pumps are all designed to be quiet. Like if you had a backyard pond, the last thing you want to hear is a motorized hum all the time.
Yeah.
All the mechanics are much quieter. The aeration is much quieter. Similar to an aquarium, if you had that in your bedroom or in your living room, you don't want to hear any noise. So our equipment's really designed to enhance the enjoyment of the water feature, and you definitely aren't getting that side noise.
Okay, and that's what it says, because what I'm referring to is probably more like in big industrial aerators for a fish farm. And if that was outdoors. So what you're referring to, are these all located inside the greenhouses, like from the tanks to like what you said, or is there stuff outside? Just try to paint the picture for us.
At our Manchester retail location, yeah, the fish tanks are inside and outside, and it's just a space issue. In the plant production area, we have no fish and no tanks like that at all.
All right, I think I've asked most of my questions. I might come back with some more, but want to give others a chance. Thank you.
Yep. And I think Lily has emailed Travis that little slideshow we put together. I also reached out, just like I'm trying to get a feel for the city's official point of view. I want to speak to the residents. I reached out and someone else mentioned noise. And so once I respond, I'll put those fears to rest, hopefully for them too, that we just don't have those issues as a normal, what the resident said was a tilapia farm. So yeah, I think it's a totally different operation. We're trying to enhance your life, and I don't think anyone would knowingly put in a pond if they thought that it was going to be noisy or, yeah.
All right, thank you. Councilman Brost?
Okay, I got the mute off. Yeah, I mean, when Mayor started asking the questions, I'd raised my hand prior, but
I apologize. I saw his first.
no. I just want to reinforce the questions that were asked, and I think we really touched on the main concerns that the residents raised. On the prior application for the property for the use. So I think this falls, and I don't, I know it's a very scary decision to buy something. But I think this falls within an area that I don't feel would have that much opposition. And I think that's the guidance that we're supposed to do at this level. And I guess, maybe for Mr. Vunich, if there was some feedback maybe you could provide even after this call. But I as to the main concerns that were raised, I think this is definitely a different use for the property, and it sounds like it'd be a nice addition not only for the city, but for that, for the continued operation of that property. So that's what I want to say. I mean, nothing. I mean, the noise, the light, the possible contamination of water, those are the main issues, and I don't feel that that's an issue with this proposal. So
Yeah, if I might interject, I feel like a lot of the concerns were because Solus was being very vague with what they wanted to do. The opposition wasn't so much for FAR continuing. It's just that I feel like my impression is that Solus didn't provide a whole lot of information about what they wanted to do with the property, and so everyone was scared.
yeah, and the lighting, they're the type of operation or facility seemed like it potentially would have been active, more on a potentially a 24/7 type, where this will be, other than working late at night, this would be probably much more similar to what the residents, and all, and what they said, really what the residents enjoyed during all those years that FAR was operating. I mean, I think we've all been there. So, so I mean, I am rotating off council. So, I'll certainly, if you get to a point where you're making a proposal, I live in the adjacent ward, but I would voice a support for it. But as of after the May meeting, I won't have a vote for it. So, I'll be off planning and zoning, and I'll be off city council. But I do feel that this is a fit. So but you're in good hands with Mr. Vunich and Travis and his team.
And
Thank you,
Mr.
Council.
Chair,
Yes, sir.
with your permission, I believe Mr. Schott and Ms. Henson are on the call tonight, the webinar. And
Mhm.
certainly if they have concerns or questions, they can email them to me and I can pass them on to Mr. Summers. And Mr. Summers can answer them and then I can relay them back. So there's an opportunity if we've missed something or there's been something said that they'd like further details, I offer them that opportunity if Mr. Summers is willing to respond to them if I get anything.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. My only issue is this April 30th looming. It's way too fast for me. That's not normally how I operate, but it could be a good opportunity for us. We know we have to move, and so we would like to explore this as best we can.
Understand. Councilman Rambo?
Yeah, hi, folks. The good news is I'm a fan of a greenhouse. I'm a fan of a business like yours in that place because FARS has been there my entire life, and I'm 70 years old, and I would love to see it get a new life in a similar, kind of situation, particularly yours, I'll be honest, because your facility in Manchester is just such a nice, lovely, appealing, homey, rambling kind of blooming place. And it's just that's that's the best possible kind of an image that we could have on such a location. And I'm very pleased to hear that there will be no light pollution concerns. There will be no noise pollution concerns. The other folks, and I should mention that we had, myself and my counterpart, Colonel Jaxie, had a number of meetings with the residents over there with up to 30 people at a time talking about their objections. And those were only two. The others were, if there are, 1,000 gallons of runoff at a time, where does it go? Does it go into the creek? Where will you be draining your tanks and so forth? And would there be any chemicals like fertilizer is a pollutant in the wrong circumstances? Certainly herbicides and pesticides and those kinds of things are pollutants. So they were rightfully, I think, concerned with Solis's proposal because of the potential magnitude, of, runoff. And so we have to be, real clear about what chemicals you use and what your plans would be for the runoff, because I think it's on a septic system, which might not be adequate to to that business, but of course it was grandfathered. And so I'd like to hear you talk about that a little bit. But I also want to ask you if you have looked at the infrastructure carefully, because we gathered that all the wiring in virtually all of the greenhouses was done by cousin Larry and Uncle Joe, and it has bare wire, twisted together and all kinds of things that just are not up to code. And so if part of your purchase plan or vision is to, utilize those greenhouses, I urge you to take a real hard look at them before you place a bid, and also to get some clear understanding of what cleanup might be required, because there were allegations. I don't know if they were substantiated, independently or not, but there were certainly comments that to the effect of, chemical residues on the site and so on and so forth. And I don't think it's a Superfund site by any means, but there might be those concerns. So I rambled around a little bit, but could you speak to both of those points, please?
Yeah, there's definitely concern because it's not a for sale property. They don't have to provide us with much. No, it's just an auction. We did open, they did have an open house. I think it was April 2nd or something. So we spent some time there. And as you said, there's just a lot of stuff going on. And now that I knew it was Uncle Larry, it makes perfect sense what was going on. But yeah, that's one of those things that scares me, just the amount of stuff that we just have to clean up. Because our operation is so small compared to that space, I think we would just start zoning it out. And this zone, we concentrate on getting it up and running. I don't know about the septic system, so I had noticed on that visit that it looked like all the gutters from the greenhouse all ran underground. I do value Pat. I don't know the Belrose, for many years, but the greenhouse industry is pretty small. So I've met Pat over the course of 20 years or so. He probably couldn't have picked me out from a lineup or anything, but I did speak to him on the open house, and he seems like he's wanting whoever takes over to be successful. So I would lean on him for some hey, what's going on here, and where does this go, and how does this work? So I would just lean on him to offer me advice of why is this way, and how do we get it up to code and up to standards for going in the future.
Yeah, so nobody wins if you guys buy this place and can't make a go of it and find all kinds of horror stories under the covers. And I just want to restate my strong support for what I've heard so far, and for a business like yours, yours in particular, because it's just you got a great place there in Manchester, and I would love to see it.
Before?
I'm sorry?
You've been to Chilili before?
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
good.
Yeah, and every time I drive by it, it's kind of heartwarming to see it. And so
Right.
I'd love to see you guys be a success, and I'm trying to help you not be a failure.
Right.
So you look into those things, particularly the drainage, because there will be tons of questions before you get a conditional use permit.
Okay.
But so again, chemicals, the water runoff, the amount of runoff, and the the infrastructure within each greenhouse.
Sure.
Yeah, and just for everyone on the committee's benefit, I'm going to share my screen here. I've got Google Earth on the left here compared to the image that was in our packet. And so Google Earth has a date of September of last year. So it's a little
Okay.
more current than what we have here. I'm mostly showing it to show that it looks like they've taken out some of the greenhouses behind the building.
Yeah, from what I gather, that would be the Belrose property, where Pat and his wife still live. I assume Solaris didn't want them, or I don't know the history there, but yeah, I noticed that on site and from the photos that those they're I guess the one on my left as I view the screen, it kind of looks like what I visited back in early April, that the structures are gone, but it's kind of just a mess there.
Yeah, because it was weird how the property line cut right across this group of greenhouses. So I'm guessing that might be part of the reason those are gone now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to, since I had the more current view up here, I just thought I would share that with everyone. So for everyone's benefit. But does anyone else have anything? As I'll just concur with what everyone else has said. It's barring any hidden issues buried under the surface, I think it would be a great addition too. It's a nursery. We've got a couple of them out in rural Wildwood, and I like having them out there when I'm doing my plant hunting each year.
Mr. Chair, would you like to see their slideshow? I think
Sure.
Newberry
Yeah.
can share screen with it now.
I did receive an email, but I only got one slide. Is that correct?
No.
It's
Sorry,
true. It should only be 5, but one doesn't say much.
Didn't want to interrupt the discussion.
So she'll resend it now. Yeah, in the coming days, I hope to reach out to more residents just to get a feel for what they're thinking too. But the last thing I want to do is be a bad neighbor. The city of Manchester has always been great to us, and I think I told them back in December that it was time for us to move, and they suggested this property and that property, and even hooked us up with the agent to try and find something. So I think our history with the city of Manchester has been good. That's what I want to continue wherever we end up. That I don't want to be, upsetting somebody and having issues there. So I appreciate everyone's time to help relieve some of our initial stress of like what went wrong and how do we avoid that.
Yeah. And I would say the biggest thing is just to be upfront and have as much of your plans available for scrutiny. And like you said, reach out to some of the residents in the area and talk to them, tell them what you're planning, and try to calm their concerns.
Right. I think it's great that some of you have been here because, we've been here 14 years, and what you see is what you get with us. And we don't have any major changes, just maybe some breathing room because we just pack it in here. Now, when my wife and I moved in here 14 years ago, I honestly had said to her, "Oh, we're going to have to rent some of this space to someone else. This place is huge." But
it's amazing how fast you fill it up.
One season in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, some of our stuff is so big." And as a nerdy plant person, if I have one water lily, that's great. But if I have 10 water lilies, that's even better. So just keep adding more and more water lilies and water plants. Okay, So I guess Travis, you'll be in charge of flipping these.
Yep, just let me know when you're ready for the next one.
Yeah, so my wife and I established our place here in spring of 2011, where we just wanted to celebrate water in the garden. I was a traditional plant grower for most of my career until I went to Missouri Botanical Garden, and then I switched over to aquatics, and I never really left that world. So our store opened here 14 years ago, and we have two children, a boy, Charles, who's a junior in high school, and our daughter, Lily, who's I think 25 this year. And so we just combined their names and named our store Chilili. Okay, we're ready for the next one. So I am a horticulturalist by training. I did, as I mentioned already, a stint at Missouri Botanical Garden. My main claim to fame was I was able to go to the Amazon rainforest and reintroduce some of the giant water lilies that you've probably seen down at the Botanical Garden, or even photos of people setting their babies, or even full-grown ladies standing on those giant lilies. So, all right, let's go on. Our focus is just to celebrate water in the garden. So we sell aquatic plants, fish, water feature accessories such as fountains and yard decor, things that would go in your garden. I already said we're here out of space because it's 14 years old and it's time. And this building's even older than FARS. The photo in this was a house up until 1971. The folks who built the house still own the house. They did recently put the property up for sale, so that's why I say we're moving regardless. But that family built the house in, I think, 1926 or 1918. I forget. I think the building's 102 years old, something like that. And so I think that was before Uncle Larry was doing any wiring. So it's, from what I understand, it's going to become a coffee shop. So this building plus the neighboring building will be raised, and drive-through coffee place is coming. So no more water features here on Manchester. Oh, I forgot there was another slide. So we're just wanting to put our final roots down. My wife is a kindergarten teacher in Wildwood, actually, at Hope Montessori. She's been there 30 years. So we're just ready to put our roots down business-wise with enough space to continue to grow. Is that the last slide?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
I got to thank Lily for doing. I might be in charge, but definitely the brains of the computer operation is Lily and Caleb here. So,
yeah, and you kind of touched on it before, but the fish tanks, are those going to be primarily inside or outside?
Here at the Manchester location, we started with, I think it was 10 tanks inside in a makeshift garage. And over the years, we just had more demand for fish. So we added, I think we have 7 or 8, something like that tank. I'd have to count them, but we have tanks outside too. What they are is they're blue tubs that are 4 foot across and about 2 foot high. That's what we're using now. That doesn't mean, that they won't change in the future if they start making them in black, or who knows what the manufacturers do, but that's the way it is right now. So we started out inside, but now we have some inside and some outside.
What would your plans be for Wildwood, or are you far enough along to even think about that?
No. One of the issues there at Wildwood is we have that house that you saw in the photo. We jam it packed with pumps and filters and fly traps for your the living fly traps. So there's lots of things inside. And what FAR doesn't offer right now is a real retail setting. I don't know if I was ever there as a retail customer, so I don't know where they put things like trowels for sale and garden accessories that people would need, soil. I have no concept of where they did that. So that's one of the things we would have to figure out, where are all these things going to physically go. And because of the frontage, I would assume we would put stuff in that first set of greenhouses, kind of like where they had their cashier station. That would be my gut reaction, that it would all end up in some similar spot.
So if I can interject, that's all they had. They didn't sell a lot of, garden accessories and
Okay.
books and gardening gloves and T-shirts and everything like you see at the botanical garden. It was just, you come in, you buy your tomato sets or your poinsettias or, whatever the heck you want, and mums in the fall, and that was it.
I was going to say the same thing. Their accessories were basically dirt, maybe mulch.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, but I was there several times, but pretty much every time it was just in that main building on the northern end of the property, close to Highway T.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think we're far enough along to start actually would go, or where that will go.
Okay. Well,
And
go ahead,
Chair,
Mr. Vunich.
just a word of caution to Mr. Summers. I don't know how much wildlife the city of Manchester has. For wildlife, but out here, there's fox, there's coyotes, there's all kinds of things that would love fish. So just a word of caution.
Surprisingly, on Manchester Road on 141 is mink, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with mink, but they eat fish, so it's a problem.
Yep.
I was going to ask about water birds like egrets and herons and stuff, because they'll come in and clean out a koi pond in a day.
Yeah, that's good for business on our side. So we support them 100%. But when we leave at night, we talked about those little 4-foot blue tanks. Every night they have a little net that goes over them, so we don't really have a big issue. Now the mink, every once in a while, when they're really hungry or brave, they'll come up and get in those tanks. But for the most part, it's more of the display pond that they would get into during the winter. So, yeah.
All right. Well, does anyone else on the committee have any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry again, but to Mr. Schott, Ms. Henson, and Ms. Clark, if you have any questions you'd like to forward to Mr. Summers, please send them to me and I'll be glad to forward them to him. And if we miss something or if you have a question, we'd be glad to send it on. So Mr. Summers has as much information as possible. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Vunich. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make motion.
All right. Motion by Councilman Bros. Second by Councilman Rambo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you, Mr. Summers. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
folks.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.